is concerned. Here we go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to the Daily Recap. I am Breaky CPK, your host, of course, and what is today, January 10th, 2018. Looking forward to today's Daily Recap. Definitely plenty to go over. Very results-oriented. There are a couple of other things, though, that is worth mentioning as far as the Dota 2 competitive scene is concerned. And without further ado, I figured let's get right into it. So, first things first, as you see on your screen right here, if you are watching the video, of course, roster lock officially announced, the final roster lock of the season announced by Valve here. I believe it was yesterday, maybe a couple of days ago. I might have missed it here. But the point is, the final roster lock announced, and it's going to be Phase 1 ending January 22nd, and then Phase 2 will end February 5th. Now, this is important here for a couple of reasons. One, a roster lock, obviously, in general, means this is a period where teams can still swap in and out players, as far as they are concerned. However, once the roster lock is official, no more doing so. No more actually swapping around players. You are stuck to that roster throughout the remaining part of the season. So that's kind of why we have seen some teams go through some changes here during the season, and most recently, especially with the holidays and the new year, we see some teams making some changes, e.g., a big one, of course, on the list. We see some new teams being formed, but as of January 22nd, and more so February 5th, with the Phase 2 finishing up, you will no longer be able to do that. So that's, the teams better have their rosters by then. Now, this is a little bit sooner than maybe some people expected. Also, the idea that maybe we were going to get at least one more roster lock kind of phase after this, perhaps. But no, that's not the case. It's going to be locked up all the way through TI-8. And TI, of course, set to happen most likely in the August timeframe. I mean, we don't have an exact date just yet. But every year it's basically been in the August timeframe. So, it's a good amount of time. It's a good 6 months here that you're expected to commit to your roster, essentially, if you want to advance on to, or have a chance of even advancing on to what is TI-8 in itself. So it'll be interesting to see if we have any more major changes coming about. These next couple of weeks is really going to be telling. Right now, being January 10th, so really is about 12 days until Phase 1 even ends. And just to clarify, so let's go over real quickly what that actually means. So Phase 1, when that actually ends, managers can re-register teams from previous registration period, can re-invite those players to their team or remove them from their team. Players can see and accept invites to their previous teams. Players can remove themselves from previous teams. At the end of Phase 1, any players not re-invited to their previous teams are removed. And then Phase 2, players can no longer be dropped. Managers can register new teams. Managers can invite any available players to the registered teams. So, obviously, after the roster lock happens, what that essentially is suggesting... actually, after Phase 2 ends, I mean, it is pretty much, it's no-go from what I'm reading here. It sometimes can be a little bit confusing, so maybe should have looked over this a little bit closer before I started the daily recap. But so it looks like Phase 2 starts essentially on January 22nd, and when it ends on February 5th, so after that, you're no longer able to register new teams. Managers can invite any players available to the registered team. Players can see their invites and accept them. At the end of Phase 2, all unaccepted invites are canceled and rosters are locked. So, yeah, if you do not have your team created by the time... Yeah, wow. If you did not have your team created by the time the second roster lock ends, so February 5th really is an important day, you're a no-go. So any players that happen to not be on a team after that phase, technically, according to the roster lock rules, they will not be allowed to then form a team or join a team for that matter. So rosters are locked. So very, very interesting there. Again, happening pretty early. I do got to say, this, especially for the esports world, it seems like us expecting a 6-month period for teams to all teams to stick together. Now, I'm all for that personally. I've suggested this before. Teams like your Virtus Pro, your Team Liquid, like you got these top tier teams where that's one of the main reasons why they are successful, in my opinion, because they found a roster and they're sticking to it. They're going through the ups and downs. Good for them. However, there's plenty of rosters, these tier 2 teams, whatever you want to call them, that definitely go through some changes. It's hard to sometimes find those players, whether it's personal issues, player issues, as far as on the battlefield, whatever it may be. So it's bound to happen, and it's going to be really interesting to see, when it does happen, how that's ultimately going to kind of screw over some teams possibly. And the unfortunate side effect is that we could see less and less teams competing as the season goes on, with the roster lock being as it is. So that's my one, I guess, big worry that I have, more so for the minor league teams, more so for the amateur teams than I do for the actual top tier teams that we definitely all know. So anyways, roster lock again. We'll keep an eye on that. Expect some possible new team creations. Again, there's still a couple of players out there. We have had some new teams, obviously Team World, Team Animal Planet, I believe is the name of it. But there's still some players out there. Keizu I still go back to, most notably. He's actually going to be ringing for OG in the upcoming Galaxy battles, as we talked about. But there are some decent name players that are still available. Universe is obviously a very, very big one as well. There's no way he's getting through the roster lock. Could you imagine if a player like Universe, and even Keizu for that matter, do not get put on a team going forward here? That would just be insanely absurd to me. All right, though, so that's the roster lock situation. Let's go over some results here as we're moving along. So, ESL 1 Katowice, again, talked about how things are progressing for this event so far. We'll start in the North American region. This, of course, is a major that's set to take place in March, I believe it is. So the North American region advancing a little bit. Not too much going on, but you see the matchups to come here in the quarterfinals. So there you go. Nothing really stand out there just yet. South America, SG Esports going to be matched up against Thunder's Awaken, and Pain Gaming will face off against Infamous most likely. I shouldn't say that yet. I mean, they haven't won the series yet. They're up 1-0 currently. So it looks like this one is actually live as I'm recording this daily recap here. We'll see how that plays out. Obviously, SG and Infamous is more so SG, just has to be kind of the favorite team out of South America. How about the European region? Team Kingwin taking out Team Doggy to advance on. Penta Sports over Team Singularity. Pretty expected results there. And then these matchups, OG versus Team World is currently live right now. I don't know if it actually is live or if this is Wikipedia saying that. And it might not be happening right now. I'd have to check that. But, that's going to be a fun result. Team World, of course, Anna, Kaiser, Forev, SVG, and Soxa. One of the more hyped teams that was recently announced with this next roster lock coming up right here. So that's going to be a great series, actually. You'd have to expect OG to be the victor there, of course, but Anna going up against his old team, there's some storylines with this series, so that's going to be fun. Planet Dog takes on Eva Corporation. Planet Dog, they've been through some rough patches here. 3-3 and Kaiser no longer part of the team. 3-3 going to Optic Gaming. Kaiser going to Team World, as we're mentioning them. So they've picked up a couple of different players throughout time here. Still a solid team. Eva Corporation, a team of former Han players, as I like to say. Hanskin, Ownme, Nox, and Shelly especially. Don't really know if I am familiar with Ryujin, but point is, fun roster. We'll see how they advance on to the semifinals outside of the European region. In CIS, we have our semifinal set up. Megalada Esports took out... Wait, what? Megalada Esports 2-0 over Empire. What happened here? What the hell? This is a massive upset. This is a major tournament, and Empire just got knocked out in the quarterfinals 2-0 to Megalada Esports, an unknown team. I don't recognize any of these names. They don't have links on Wikipedia whatsoever. Holy crap, that is a pretty massive upset. Looks like this happened actually early on today. Very interesting. All right, so they're going to move on to play Vega Squadron, who took out Gambit 2-0. Effect got a forfeit win, unfortunately, but, they advance on, probably were anyways, and Spirit will take on Effect as a result of their victory, but this is again a major qualifier, and it's getting interesting as far as it's winding down. So Empire, arguably one of the favorites, knocked out. That I would lend towards Team Spirit. I've been suggesting Team Spirit is a very strong team out of the CIS region. They're a team that I like, and I almost is undervalued at times. So they would be my favorites at this point, unless this Megalada Esports is for real. To be fair, they had to defeat M19 before Empire, and M19's a solid team themselves. So maybe there's something to these guys. We'll have to keep an eye on that out of the CIS region. In China, we have our semifinal matchups. LGD versus Keen Gaming and LFY versus VGJ Thunder are going to be the matches. Real quickly on VGJ Thunder versus Eclipse, we'll talk about this in a little bit too shortly, but they had to play 2 best-of-3 series against each other yesterday, and it looks like VGJ Thunder won both of them 2-0. No, I take that back. They won the first one 2-1. Eclipse won the first game. I actually cast that series this morning. But then the second series, As you see here, they took out Eclipse and advanced on. We're in that phase where teams are playing a lot of these qualifier matches and even the same opponents on the same day. I know Optic Gaming plays, I believe they play Team Planet, or not Planet Dog, but Team Animal Planet twice today, if I'm not mistaken, for a couple of different qualifiers. So it's really interesting how that works out. Anyways, these qualifiers, nothing really of that big upset by any means. It feels like it's playing out as you almost would expect. And, again, going to be an interesting finals there. Possible LGD sister teams matching up in the finals. We'll see. Southeast Asia, the final region out of this major qualifier. And looking at the results, similar story. Nothing really standing out. Fnatic versus Geek Fam and TNC versus Execration is set to happen right there. All right, so that's the ESL1 Katowice 2018 Major. Let's take a look at the Star Ladder event. An event that I've been covering for the China region, actually. You see TNC, so this has not progressed any further yet. They're still waiting for Mineski's match to play. They're still returning home and everything from Captain's Draft. As far as China goes, again, I casted these series yesterday, so yeah, VGJ Thunder 2-1 over Eclipse. It was a solid series, but Thunder ultimately still keeping momentum. And then VG Gaming, pretty decisive victories, 2-0 over Keen Gaming to put these matchups here. So yeah, the VG sister teams going up against one another, and then you got the LGD sister teams up against one another. One of each obviously advancing on to the finals. And to see who moves on to the minor event, that is the Star Ladder I-League Invitational. South America, SG Esports will be your representative. I believe we knew that before. North America, so it's going to be Complexity versus Immortals and Optic Gaming versus Animal Planet. So this is one of those series that I was talking about. One of the 2 times they play Animal Planet today, apparently. Again, Animal Planet, you're looking at Ritsu, Bryle, Moon Meander, Aoi 2000, and Kitrak. Mix of solid players there, so definitely no guarantee for Optic Gaming. But they should be the favorites, and Complexity especially seems like they have Immortals' number a lot recently. So they play later tonight. Going to be rooting on my boys in Complexity. And good old Complexity Optic Gaming finals matchup seems about right. So we'll see if that actually does happen or not. CIS, that already played out. Empire was earlier on, and Europe, same thing. Kingman moving on, that's right. So those were updates there for the Star Ladder. And then the Bucharest Major, another major qualifier taking place. Has this actually taken place, or are they just setting it up? It looks like we're just setting this up right now. Oh, no, there's some results. Going with Europe, OG's 1-0 so far over Man's Not Hot. Okay, that's the cancel stack. Okay, that makes a little more sense. That's quite the name right there. So they win 2-0 over them. So they play a group stage. Looks like the top 2 then advance on to a single elimination playoff. Yeah, OG definitely a favorite here. Kingwin, of course, going to be making a splash, I'm sure, as well. Who's the final tribe? That's Era, Jonas Van Pablo, Hanskin, and Nox. Nice. All right, we'll see if they can do something as well. At a CIS, look at the matchups here, how things are shaping up so far. Empire is 1-0 in this major qualifier. You have Vega and Spirit on top of the other side. At a China, oh, they did it a little bit differently, apparently. Okay, so VGJ Thunder, that's right. They already qualified. They played this early on, different format. I don't know how I feel about that. Different regions running different formats for qualifying events. It seems a little off to me, but I mean, I guess I'm fine with it. It's just very odd seeing that they're running it differently for each of the regions. But I guess that was probably just China-specific. China's just in a world in its own right, so... Fnatic Execration on top here, Clutch and TNC. Again, not really any surprising things. We're still very early on in these qualifiers. You got North America. Wait, Complexity not in these. Oh, that's right, because they were invited. I was going to say, where's my boys Complexity? They were invited to this major event. That's awesome. That's awesome. Congrats to them. So that's going to be in early March. And then South America, again, same thing. We'll keep an eye on this and see how it plays out. So there you go. Those are some updated results here. Looking forward to how it all plays out. We're in that very busy time once again. All these qualifiers happening. A little bit of roster information to go over as well with this roster lock news. The organization Team Sacred, out of South America, they are no longer apparently. Now, I don't know if this necessarily means that the team is breaking up or if they're just dropping the organization. I believe that it just means they're dropping the organization. I believe the team is kind of still sticking together, and they're probably just going to pick up a new organization or whatever. So I can't say for sure. It's, there's very little on this that to translate it even. It's hard to say if that's exactly what that means or not. So I guess we'll see in the coming days if that is the case. You see on Wikipedia just simply them dropping the team right here. Nothing more than that, though. So, all right, though. There you go. That's our daily recap for what is January 10th, 2018. Again, a little bit later on in the day, obviously with my China region casting overnight. It's kind of affecting the hours quite a bit. So, hopefully you enjoyed this, though, and be sure to continue tuning into these daily recaps. Again, leave any feedback, comments below on the YouTube channel. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter or Facebook, as well as follow me on Twitch, all at BreakECPK. So, thanks again for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.